Hi dear students, my name is Vipin Raj and I am from Kerala. I am your biology teacher. So today this is our first biology class. Okay. I know we have completed the first 3 chapters. So we are going to start a new chapter today. And our chapter, this chapter, it is related with an interesting branch of biology. We know that already biology is always interesting, okay? And there, one of the most interesting branch of biology, okay? That is known as ecology. This is related with what? Ecology. So ecology, it is the scientific study of organisms in relation to their environment. Okay, so it's a branch of biology. It is the study of organisms in relation to their environment. That is known as ecology. The functional unit of ecology is known as what? The ecosystem. So in this chapter, we will learn more about this functional unit of ecology. That is what? Ecosystem. So what is an ecosystem? It's a unit in which there is interaction between these organisms. It's a unit in which there is interaction between organisms and their environment. So that is known as what? The ecosystem. So before going into the characters and the components of the ecosystem, we must understand some of the terms related with our chapter, that is what? Ecosystem. So ecosystem is a unit in which there is interaction between organisms and their environment. Okay. So these are some terms. So here there is what? Habitat. Habitat is the place in which where the organism lives in. So it is the natural home of an organism. The natural home, the place where the organism lives in, is known as what? Its habitat. Now, for example, a field is a habitat for frogs or snakes. In our surroundings, you can see different organisms, and they all have a particular natural home, and that natural home is known as the habitat of that organism. Then the environment. It is all the external conditions of an organism. The external conditions which surrounds the organism is known as its environment. Okay. Then community. These are a group of the several species of animals and plants which are living in the same habitat. A group of several species of plants and animals which are living in the same area or a similar habitat is known as a community. So we are also living in a community. In our surroundings, we can see different organisms, plants as well as animals are there. So we are living in a community. Okay, we share the same habitat with other organisms. Then population. Population means it is all the individuals of a species. All the individuals of the same species which live in a habitat, in a particular area, is known as a population. So there is human population. Okay, so in the human population we can see only the human species. So there are different population for different species of organisms. Okay, so these are some of the terms related with our ecosystem. So it's a unit in which there is what? There is interaction between organisms and their surrounding environment. So that is known as what? Ecosystem. It's a functional unit of what? The ecology. Okay, so these are some terms. So now we are moving to what are the components? The components of the ecosystem. Okay, now let's know about the characters and the components of the ecosystem. One of the most important characters of an ecosystem is that there is interaction between the organisms. So in an ecosystem, there is interaction between the organisms and their external environment. The organisms interact with themselves as well as with their immediate environment. And in an ecosystem, there is a flow of energy. We know that the sun is the source of energy. And from the sun, this energy is trapped by the plants. And the animals get energy from these plants. So plants provide energy for animals. And plants get energy from the sun. Okay, so there is a flow of energy from the plants to the animals and all. Okay, so there is an energy flow, or the flow of energy, and there is interdependence of organisms, an interaction between the organisms. These are the basic characteristics of a particular ecosystem. Okay. Then, what are the components of an ecosystem? There are mainly two components. They are the biotic component and abiotic components. The biotic components include all the living things of the ecosystem. Then what about the abiotic components? This includes the organic and inorganic components in the environment. For example, water, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, then minerals. All these are what? The inorganic components found in the environment. Then there is proteins, carbohydrates, lipids. Okay. So these are what? Organic components. So these organic as well as inorganic components of the ecosystem, okay, that constitute the abiotic components. This also includes the climatic changes, the climate, light, temperature. All these are what? Abiotic component of the environment. The abiotic factors, the abiotic components, which also includes the light, the temperature, the climate, all these things coming under what? The abiotic components. Okay. Then, what is meant by the biotic components? The biotic components means the living things present in the ecosystem. All the living things constitute the biotic component of a particular ecosystem. Okay. So, these biotic components, the living things, these biotic components, they are also divided into three types. There are three categories. Okay. So, let's have an idea regarding the biotic components of the ecosystem. So, all living things coming under the biotic components. So, they are divided into three. They are what? Producers, then consumers, and decomposers. So all these constitute the biotic component of an ecosystem. So let's know first about the producers. These are the living things, these are the organisms which are capable of making their own food. Okay, they are otherwise known as autotrophs. All green plants, then the cyanobacteria or blue-green algae, then other type of photosynthetic bacteria which are coming under this group, that is what? The producers. They can make their own food by using the energy from the sun. Okay, they can make their own food. Okay, they are what? The producers. They trap the light energy and they convert this light energy into the organic food. And all other animals, they consume this organic food and they also get the energy. Okay, so they can trap the light energy. Okay, and through photosynthesis, the green plants, they make their own food. And during photosynthesis, the green plants, they also release the oxygen. Okay. So then the next one is what? The consumers, or they are otherwise known as heterotrophs. So these are the consumers or heterotrophs. These are organisms which completely depending upon the producers or the autotrophs for their food. So they are known as what? The consumers or heterotrophs. All animals coming under this group, that is what? Consumers. They depend upon the producers for their energy, for their food. And here also we can see different types of consumers. The first one is what? Herbivores. They are animals which feed on what? The producers. That means the plant or the plant products. Herbivores feed on what? The plant or plant products. So such type of organisms are known as what? The herbivores, or they are known as the primary consumers. For example, rabbit, cattle, then goat, deers. All these are what? The primary consumers, or they are herbivores. They eat plant or plant products. Then coming this next category, that is what? Carnivores. They are depending upon the herbivores. They feed on herbivores. They get energy from these herbivores. These are known as what? The carnivores. Carnivorous animals. For example, fox is a carnivore. Then frog is also a carnivore. Okay, so these are the organisms coming under the category what? Carnivores. And they are otherwise known as the secondary consumers. The carnivores may be primary carnivores or secondary carnivores. The primary carnivores means they feed on the herbivores. They prey upon the herbivores. They are known as what? Primary carnivores. Then there is what? Secondary carnivores. The secondary carnivores which prey upon the primary carnivores. So secondary carnivores are organisms or animals. They feed on these primary carnivores. Okay. And here these carnivores are otherwise known as what? The secondary consumers. The primary carnivores are otherwise known as secondary consumers. And here the secondary carnivores can be called as what? Tertiary consumers. For example, tiger is a tertiary consumer. Okay. The next category is what? The omnivores. Herbivores means what? These are organisms, animals which eat plant or plant products. Then what about carnivores which eat other what? Herbivores. Then in the case of omnivores, these are organisms which can feed both plants as well as animals. For example, we are the human beings. We are what? Omnivore. Okay. So these are the consumers. So there is herbivores, carnivores and omnivores. Okay, so you can just you can see here, the grass. It's a producer. A grasshopper is a consumer, a primary consumer, or it's a herbivore. Okay. A frog feed on this grasshopper. So it is a secondary consumer. Or what? It's a carnivore. It's a primary carnivore. Then the snake can feed on what? These frogs. So it becomes the tertiary consumer. Or or a what? It's also a carnivore. It's a secondary carnivore. Okay. So we'll learn about this energy flow later. Okay. Then coming what? The decomposers. This constitute the microbes, the microscopic organisms, fungi and bacteria. What they're doing is that they disintegrate the organic substances. They disintegrate, they break down the organic substances, the dead and decaying plant and animal materials into a forms, that means what? That can be easily absorbed by the plant, that can be used by the plants. So these are microbes. They break down these organic materials. Okay, and they can they break down the decaying parts of the plants and animals. The decomposers, which also includes a special type of bacteria, which are known as what? The transformers. They disintegrate the organic substance into a suitable forms that can be easily absorbed by, taken up by the plants. Okay. So far we have discussed about the biotic components of the ecosystem. There are producers, consumers and decomposers. All these constitute, all these living organisms, the living things constitute what? The biotic or living component of the ecosystem. Okay. So we have learned the ecosystem. So what is an ecosystem? It's a unit in which there is what? An interaction between the organisms, between the biotic components, as well as their interaction with the abiotic components. All this constitute the term what? The ecosystem. Okay. So the next class we will continue. Okay. So anyway, if you have any doubt, we are just concluding this section, and if you feel any doubt, you can contact me. You must read the textbook. Okay. Then if you find any difficulty, you may just call me or you can message me. Okay, you are always welcome. Anytime you can call me or message me. Okay, so dear children, so okay, thank you.